Hi guys, and welcome back to Love English
Talks.
So, I'm Leila.
I'm Sabrah.
And today we are talking about a rather controversial issue.
We are indeed.
What does controversial mean?
Well, controversial means people have a variety of different opinions. It's something which can get people quite heated, a little bit angry perhaps. So it's basically something where arguments can happen if an issue is controversial. For example, veganism is quite controversial, and so is
Donald Trump.
Ooh.
But we're not talking about him today.
No.
And we'll avoid ever talking about him.
Yes, let's never mention his name again.
But we are talking about a controversial issue, which is Brexit. Brexit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Order!
So despite being a controversial issue, it is an important topic to talk about, to be aware of the various arguments and, of course, vocabulary.
That's right, guys. You're going to be learning a lot of political vocabulary in this lesson, as well as learning a lot of different ways to express your opinion, but in a tactful way. So tactful means polite. It means kind of making something a bit sweeter in a way, almost to sugarcoat something. So instead of saying to somebody, "Oh gosh, you look awfully tired," you could say, "Oh, maybe you need to get a bit more sleep."
You said that to me today.
So to be tactful, and this is extremely important when it comes to Brexit because it has been very divisive, hasn't it, Leila?
It's been very divisive, which means it's divided the country, essentially. But I think not even the UK, Europe, the world. People
to an extent.
have an opinion.
Yeah, they definitely do. So today, guys, we're going to be covering the main issues of Brexit, how it happened, where we are now, what your view might be if you'll either leave or remain. And we're also going to be sharing a couple of our opinions as well, but in a nice tactful way.
So whether you are pro or remain, we would love you to subscribe. Make sure that you do subscribe and, of course, share your opinions below. What do you think of Brexit? How crazy are our politicians? Not us, it's the politicians.
For the most part.
A lot of them are. Right, so I think it is important that you get a cup of tea if you want to. Have a cup of tea or coffee with Love English. But first, I'm going to tell you why the European Union was set up, was established. So, essentially, after the Second World War, we realised that in Europe we had a few issues.
We did, indeed. Yes.
And the European Union was established, first of all, as the EEC.
Mm-hmm. Very good, Leila.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay. But it was really designed to connect all the countries together economically and to avoid any country ever becoming too dominant and essentially starting a war. And then it kind of developed from there. It grew, and now we are at 28 members. Well, soon to be 27, we think. And essentially we are linked by European law, free trade, free movement, all of these different things that bring a lot of benefits but have also brought a lot of issues and things people are not happy about.
That's correct, yeah. We're also connected by the customs union, so tax and VAT, that is all regulated in a similar way, which of course makes free trade a lot easier. So what happened in UK politics was a particular group of the Conservative Party for a long time have been sceptical about our relationship with Europe and about us being a member of the EU. They haven't necessarily seen the benefits. In fact, they've been really quite negative about us being a member of the EU.
The pro-Brexit Conservatives for Britain group of Tory MPs helped to terrify David Cameron into having a referendum. After that referendum, they regrouped as the European Research Group.
And so they have been calling for a long time to have a referendum. Now, what is a referendum? It is a public vote where the public are given a yes or no answer on a big issue. For example, ours was stay in the European Union or not. And this happened in June 2016. And as you probably know, we voted to leave. But it was a very narrow,
It was about 52, 49.
It was 52 to 48 point something.
It was a very small
very
difference.
close margin,
But it was enough.
Yes, it was. And it did come as a shock to Great Britain, to be honest. It did come as quite a shock to us, but this is what the country voted for. Now, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the views you might have if you are pro-Remain, so pro-staying in the European Union, or if you are pro-leave. But before we do that, we'll talk a little bit about where we are now.
Where are we now? It changes on a daily basis. Essentially, Theresa May couldn't do it, Boris Johnson hasn't been able to do it, and no one seems to be able to get the government to agree on a deal.
Boris Johnson is mainly doing this, styling his hair.
Well, a bit like Trump.
Yes.
So, whatever our opinion might be of the politicians, no one is able to get an agreement, to agree to a deal.
Yeah, it's been very
there has
difficult.
been talk of no deal Brexit,
Mm-hmm.
which would mean we crash out of the EU, which is probably as bad as it sounds.
No deal Brexit.
Yeah. So you'll hear a lot of these terms being used. Obviously, most people feel that a deal would be better.
The EU's view is that no deal will hurt you more than it will hurt us, and they point to plenty of studies to back that up.
But a deal needs to be agreed now, because Mr. Boris Johnson has not been successful. What is happening now, Sabrah? What is about to happen?
Right, okay, so we have a couple of possible options. So now we're going to have a general election, because basically the deal, the withdrawal agreement that Boris Johnson got from the EU was accepted by Parliament, but not enough to be able to push it through. And this is mainly because there are two parties which are very against Brexit in our Parliament. One are called the Liberal Democrats, and they want to cancel Brexit.
The first task is clear. We must stop Brexit.
So that is going to be very interesting, but probably doubtful that they'll have enough
They're not a
votes
big
to be able
party,
to do that.
yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing, which is extremely controversial, is the Irish border situation. So, quick history lesson, guys. Southern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, is of course in the EU. Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, and of course, therefore, they will be leaving the EU with us. However, the new deal that Boris Johnson negotiated, because we don't want to have a hard border in Ireland, dividing Ireland, this has been a major issue.
Yeah.
What's it been called, Leila?
They're talking about the Irish backstop.
Yes.
So basically, how do you, when you divide a country in that way, how do you create a customs border? How do you ensure that people are not bringing across, European wine and not paying tax? That's the first thing I would bring across.
Yeah. Chocolate. Yeah.
Chocolate, wine. How do you manage that? And also, of course, there will be a cost to it.
Yeah.
So that's been a major, major issue.
Particularly because of the Irish history. Of course, Ireland, there was huge problems with the IRA, a terrorist group. And after the Good Friday Agreement, which was the peace agreement, things have been calm in Ireland, and we definitely want to keep it that way. But if we have a hard border in Northern Ireland, there's a risk that we might stir things up again in Ireland, which we really don't want.
That's a nice phrasal verb there, to stir
things up. Yeah, to stir up trouble, for example.
Create problems.
Yes. So we really don't want that. So it's been a very challenging thing for politicians to negotiate, and they're still stuck on it. So what's happening, Leila? What are they doing? Because they're stuck at the moment. They're in gridlock, really.
What are they doing? So the idea behind having another election, one before Christmas, so you'll be doing your Christmas shopping, buying your Christmas cards, and also voting,
Yeah.
is to essentially give Boris Johnson, he's hoping, he'll win the vote, he'll have a majority, and he'll be able to put through his deal. It will give him essentially more powers.
Yeah.
Brexit done. Let's get Brexit done. Let's get Brexit done. Let's get Brexit done.
But we don't know if he's going to get all the votes. And this election, it's obviously going to be about Brexit. So whatever the outcome is, if, for example, it's more Labour, which is a left-wing party, Liberal Democrat, we will probably go back to the people and get another referendum.
Do you think we should have another referendum?
So, guys, another referendum would be to go back to the people and say, do you still want to leave the EU?
I think the idea of the second referendum would be to tell them exactly the terms of the deal, and then people are voting with more awareness and knowledge of what the impact of Brexit
or they can
will
say,
be.
after everything they've learned, we don't want to leave. So what do I think? I definitely think we should have a second referendum. I think that during the campaign for Leave and Remain, I don't think the Leave campaign were completely honest about all the facts that they gave the public. I don't think they had any idea how difficult it would be to leave the EU. But I'm a bit biased because I am pro-Remain. I like to be a part of the single market. I think it's great to have a peacekeeping body like the EU. So I am pro-Remain. But at the same time, I think the people deserve, after seeing how difficult it is to leave the EU and the Irish issue, I think we should have a choice to say, okay, I've got the full picture now. I still want to leave, or actually I changed my mind and I want to stay.
I'm not convinced.
No?
No. Now,
see, very divisive.
We're being very honest, but I'm actually pro-Remain, or as some people may say, a Remona. So mixing moan and Remain together, meaning moan means complain. We're not Ramonas because I don't think we complain about it. And even though I voted to Remain, I think a second referendum could cause more problems. It could cause, because you're going to have people, there are still so many people that feel passionately we should leave.
Yeah.
And if you then have another vote, and whichever way it goes, I think it could cause more arguments, more controversy, more issues. And I also think that when you have a referendum vote, that it is democracy in action, essentially. So no matter the percentage, I think if you take that away, then are you weakening democracy?
But do you think the Leave campaign was fair?
I think both sides were awful. I think the people were not properly informed. That's true. That would be the argument to have a second referendum. We weren't properly informed, and both sides did terrible campaigning. So we're being very opinionated now. Maybe you guys disagree with us.
Yeah. So if we look now at some of the views for why someone might believe we should leave and why someone might believe we should remain. Okay. So Leila, do you want to do leave or remain?
My head's going to explode.
Are you more a Boris or are you more a Jeremy Corbyn?
I think hopefully neither. Nor Theresa May.
No.
Neither.
Okay.
So you go. What do you feel more comfortable?
I can talk about leave. That makes it balance. Yeah. So basically, one of the reasons which people voted to leave was because they feel that Europe is anti-democratic and that it takes away some of our powers to make our own laws within our government. Yeah. Because obviously we have to follow some big uniform European laws which are the same for everybody, which takes away our right to control our own democracy.
Sovereignty.
Yeah, our sovereignty. Ooh, you could
look at me with the vocab.
Yeah. So that's a big issue for people. And they believe, as Leila said, that it's expensive, that we don't get enough say, we pay all this money to not get enough say. The other issue was a little bit more controversial because it was around immigration. So one of the 4 freedoms of the EU is that we have the freedom of movement, it's called, freedom of movement. And basically it's that if I want to go and live in Greece or Spain or sunny Italy, I can, and I don't need a passport. Yeah, I can just go. Well, I need a passport to get there, but I don't need any kind of visa or anything like that. Exactly. Anyone can also come from Europe, from any of those 28 countries can come and work in the UK. Now, because Britain is a little bit more economically stable, we have had a huge amount of immigration. And this, to a certain extent, has put more pressure on services, schools, infrastructure, housing. And so some people have been a little bit uncomfortable with that. However, there is a positive side of immigration, of course, which Leila will cover in her Remain talk. But those are probably the biggest issues. Would you agree, Leila?
I think those are definitely the kind of the key ones.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that, obviously, but then we could be here a whole hour talking about.
And I'm sure you don't want to spend an hour of your life hearing about the problems of the UK.
It's a while.
Yeah.
So with Remainers, people that wanted to stay, obviously the biggest thing was the fact that we were able to have free movement, that we could go and work and live in different countries. And whilst immigration has been an issue, one thing you'll notice if you ever come to the UK and need any kind of healthcare service is that our hospitals are full of amazing nurses, doctors from other countries.
Yeah.
European Union, and beyond. So if you take the foreign workers out of the UK, you're not left with many workers. And these are skilled people, professionals, paying taxes into the system. They have
so much.
They're adding a lot of value to the country and to our system. So that's a very valid reason for us to stay. And of course, in terms of being linked economically and having the free market, free trade, it's essential. Because basically in the UK, we don't grow any fruit and vegetables. We grow very little. We have like 1 month where we have some nice asparagus, August where we've got some strawberries, and then otherwise we would be eating potatoes all the time.
We would be.
If you've been to the UK, you know that we already eat a lot and we don't need to be eating more. So we import a lot of produce, vegetables, wine, because our climate doesn't allow for us to produce that much. We like exotic things.
We do. We've got used to this wide array of things available to us, like Belgian chocolates, Swiss cheese.
Oh my goodness, could you imagine? No Belgian chocolate.
I know.
Terrible. So I think those are the key issues for people wanting to remain. But also, I think there is a sense of we want to be part of a community, that together we are stronger, that to have the European Union as an ally in terms of, military advantages, not that I ever want to go to war, but otherwise we're essentially with America and that's all we've got.
Pretty much, yeah.
Incidentally, guys, did you know that Boris Johnson, his surname is Johnson, in American English, it means the man part.
Yeah.
Okay? The man
male
genitals.
genitalia.
And in British English, Trump is slang for fart, to expel wind.
Yes.
And I think really that is probably the most poetic we're going to get today.
Yes, guys, it's quite fitting that their name should have these second meanings.
They're quite fitting to those people as well.
Indeed.
So, we're very opinionated now. You guys, you're either going to like what we're saying or dislike it. Go for it, comment. I think Sabrah and I both agree on one thing, that you do have to listen to the other side's opinion. Of
course, yeah.
I've spoken to people that wanted to leave, and a lot of them have given us some very good reasons for why we should leave. They think that actually long term we'd be able to make our own trade deals. We could potentially be a stronger economy, and having that power, that control back
potentially
could mean that we can kind of make our own way and make decisions that we couldn't before, and make trade deals with other countries that we couldn't before.
They think we're quite trapped. I mean, that was the big thing about the Brexit campaign. Their slogan, so their kind of key words, their key promise was take back control. So control of the borders, control of democracy, control of our trade. And as I said before, whilst I see that, I do think it's going to take quite a long time to build up trade deals. And I think, we want a lot of the products that Europe has. Europe wants the products that we have, for example, things to do with technology, engineering, services, all
potatoes.
There are lots of things that we export as well. And so to me, it makes sense to barter with your neighbour, to do trade with your neighbour. If you've
closest neighbour.
Yeah, I mean, we're potentially going to make deals with Australia, but imagine the import and export
takes a long
costs.
time. We'll be eating kangaroo burgers.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently it's good meat. No good for you. No good for you.
Funny, a kangaroo, they're too cute.
One of my reasons for voting Remain was that I think it's better to be inside and make a difference and make change from within.
Yeah.
Because when we're outside, then you have no control and you have no influence. And even not being part of the European Union, we will still be influenced by them.
Yeah. And I do think it does need reform. The EU does need reform, so development, change, But I think, as Leila said, we're better to do that inside it rather than out of it. But guys, you may think we're a bit biased. You may
Italian boyfriend, husband. Maybe I've got an Italian boyfriend on the side. Maybe Spanish boyfriend I'll get on the side.
Leila, you're terrible.
He's going to kill me.
So I do think that to a certain extent, I see the Leave side's point of view. But
we still disagree.
Yeah, we still disagree. But guys, we would love to know your opinions on this. How is this reported in your countries? We know we've got lots of Europeans watching us, lots of Italians, Spanish, Greeks. Do tell us what you think. Do you want Britain to stay within the EU and us to all stay friends? Or are you fed up with us? Do you want to get rid of us and all of this back and forth with Brexit? Because I bet they're feeling a bit sick of us. The amount of money that's been spent on negotiating.
We've got a flextension now, which I love this. I tell you what, politics, loads of new words.
Lots of vocabulary,
Flextension. So basically, it's you can leave whenever you actually get there. So, my children might be negotiating Brexit.
Oh my goodness. Probably. That will probably be the case. Anyway, guys, we would love to know your opinions. As Leila said before, let's get a bit of a dialogue going on this. Let's get a bit of a conversation going below in the comments. But remember to express your opinion in a manner that is polite.
Thank you so much for watching. And of course, keep watching this space. What's going to happen with the UK?
Yes.
Who's going to be voted for in the next election in December the 12th?
Yes.
Will there be another referendum? Will we ever leave?
Yeah.
Watch this space. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hi, guys, and welcome back. What am I saying?